Imagine this, March 28, 2026, 7:45 UTC. Across the vast emptiness of space, the European Space Agency's JUICE spacecraft, the Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer, was gliding silently toward Jupiter, its instruments quietly transmitting navigational telemetry back to Earth. The mission was routine until a proximity alert triggered within JUICE's autonomous collision avoidance system. Something was in a place it should never have been. At the Deep Space Network Station in Canberra, Australia, the systems engineer on duty didn't panic. She ran the ephemeris calculation 3 times, cross-referencing 3I, Atlas's last documented position, against the latest telemetry. The numbers didn't lie. In just 6 hours, the interstellar object had altered its approach vector by 2.3 degrees. That's no random drift. That's intentional maneuvering. Within minutes, she bypassed standard communication channels and called the mission director at JPL directly because the data carried an implication that no one could ignore. 3I. Atlas was not following a gravitational path. It was navigating. Then, 17 minutes later, another trajectory correction appeared in the data stream, and then a third. Each change was incremental, methodical, and cumulative. The object was methodically refining its approach to Jupiter, precisely shaping a vector that classical orbital mechanics alone could never produce. The probability that these course corrections occurred randomly? Less than 1 in 2.7 billion. The room fell silent. This wasn't a routine anomaly. Trajectory specialists, orbital mechanics experts, and deep space navigation engineers, all among the sharpest minds on Earth, stared at the same conclusion. 3I. Atlas was operating with deliberate purpose. It was a navigator executing maneuvers that had likely been planned billions of years ago. What JUICE had detected wasn't gravitational noise or a cosmic coincidence. It was a carefully executed plan. In just 6 hours, 3I, Atlas continued adjusting its course, inching closer to an exact Jupiter entry corridor. Every micro-correction, every subtle adjustment, pointed toward a single reality. This object wasn't a comet drifting passively through space. It was a vehicle autonomous, or piloted, designed to enter Jupiter's system with pinpoint accuracy. Why Jupiter? Because the gas giant is not just a planet, it's the solar system's gravitational monarch. Its hill sphere, the zone where Jupiter's gravity overtakes the Sun's influence, stretches 33 million miles from its surface. Within this immense gravitational bubble lies a planetary system unlike any other. 63 moons orbit Jupiter. From Europa's icy ocean to Ganymede's mineral-rich surface, Io's volcanic fury, and Callisto's stable high orbit. A civilization seeking to establish a foothold in a solar system would choose Jupiter first, exploiting its gravity to navigate efficiently to multiple targets. But 3I, Atlas wasn't just heading toward Jupiter, it was equipped for the journey. The 13.5 million metric tons of water it released at perihelion over 30 days weren't accidental outgassing, they were fuel. Through electrolysis, this water could produce hydrogen and oxygen, forming a high-efficiency propulsion system to power the object's trajectory corrections. Those sublimation jets, not random natural phenomena, they were thrusters, firing with geometric precision. The implications are staggering. The object's trajectory, fuel utilization, and course corrections suggest a civilization capable of interstellar travel, patient enough to execute a mission over billions of years, and advanced enough to harness natural resources for propulsion. This isn't a random interstellar rock. This is deliberate navigation, a calculated approach toward the most strategic planetary system in our solar neighborhood. The countdown of precision trajectory corrections had already begun. 3I. Atlas was not merely arriving, it was systematically establishing a presence. And every observation, every confirmation from JUICE and ground-based observatories pointed to a mission plan that was far older and more sophisticated than anything humanity could comprehend. Stay with me, because what comes next will challenge everything we thought we knew about interstellar objects, autonomous navigation, and the very possibility of contact with intelligence older than our solar system itself. If you're ready, I can continue immediately with Part 2, picking up seamlessly from the point where Part 1 leaves off, diving into the technical details of the trajectory corrections, orbital capture strategy, and 3I, Atlas's deliberate approach to the Jovian moons. As JUICE and ground-based observatories continued tracking 3I, Atlas, the depth of its navigational sophistication became undeniable. Each trajectory correction was not random. The object was meticulously refining an approach vector that would intersect Jupiter's Hill sphere at an optimal point, a gravitational sweet spot, where Jupiter's immense pull could be exploited to insert the object into stable orbit. Every movement, every micro-adjustment, was calculated with the precision of a spacecraft executing a mission written billions of years ago. The gravitational capture of Jupiter was the first step in what researchers are now calling a multi-target deployment strategy. Once within the Hill sphere, the gas giant's gravity becomes an ally, allowing 3I Atlas to perform orbital maneuvers with minimal energy expenditure. Using gravitational assists, the object could distribute itself toward multiple moons in a pattern that maximizes coverage and influence within the Jovian system. This was no longer a passive visitor. This was a spacecraft behaving like a master strategist, using Jupiter as both gatekeeper and enabler. Let's look at the moons in question. Europa, with its smooth, icy surface hiding a vast subsurface ocean, offers both habitability and resources. Ganymede, the largest moon, provides geological stability and mineral wealth. Io's extreme volcanic activity delivers energy-rich chemical environments, while Callisto's high orbit and stable terrain allow for communications infrastructure or remote observation posts. The trajectory 3I Atlas has been refining suggests intentional access to each of these moons, indicating a mission objective far beyond simple observation. Even more compelling is the role of 3I, Atlas's water jets. The 13.5 million metric tons of water released over perihelion are not accidental. This is stored fuel, designed for electrolysis to produce hydrogen and oxygen, the most efficient propellants in the known universe. The geometric precision of the outgassing jets aligns perfectly with the trajectory corrections, confirming that this object is actively piloting itself, not drifting. The propulsion systems required for such maneuvers, if we apply theoretical models from the Galileo project and advanced propulsion research, suggest an internal energy architecture capable of sustaining high-efficiency ion drives over geological timescales. This means the object has its own onboard propulsion, designed to execute fine-tuned course corrections while maintaining near-perfect momentum conservation. Each adjustment documented by JUICE aligns with the energy profile of a civilization capable of interstellar travel, one that can predict and execute orbital insertions with precision that surpasses human capability by orders of magnitude. The magnitude and duration of these corrections point to continuous autonomous operation over billions of kilometers, with the object calculating its own adjustments in real time. The probability that a naturally occurring object could achieve this is effectively zero. We're not dealing with random cometary behavior, solar radiation pressure, or gravitational nudges. The navigational telemetry confirms intentionality. The trajectory corrections, water-based propulsion, and the precise targeting of Jupiter's Hill sphere converge to indicate a deliberate colonization strategy. This is not temporary passage. This is the systematic establishment of a presence within a planetary system. And yet, even as researchers pieced this together, the implications deepened. If 3I, Atlas is capable of interstellar navigation, fuel self-sufficiency, and multi-target deployment, it is operating under a technological paradigm that could sustain itself across billions of years. Every minor adjustment, every energy expenditure, is accounted for and optimized. The object is essentially a self-contained probe, programmed to navigate, adapt, and execute a mission long before the formation of our solar system. The realization hit the room at JPL and other global observatories. Humanity is witnessing not just a celestial anomaly, but the arrival of interstellar technology with a defined purpose. The meticulous trajectory corrections, combined with the fuel strategy and multi-moon targeting, paint a picture of an intelligence capable of shaping its environment on a planetary scale. Its arrival presence, not a threat in the conventional sense, but a deliberate, calculated establishment of footholds in a system humans are only beginning to understand. And as the hours ticked by, it became clear that this mission was about more than just reaching Jupiter. Every movement, every micro-adjustment, every calculated use of fuel was part of a billion-year plan to secure access to resources, habitable environments, and strategic positions across the Jovian moons. Atlas is not a wanderer. It is a colonizer, executing a mission with precision, foresight, and sophistication beyond anything Earth has ever encountered. The countdown of trajectory adjustments continued. Every passing minute revealed that the object was not just approaching Jupiter, it was executing a plan billions of years in the making. And for the scientists observing this in real time, one question dominated every analysis: what happens when the object reaches its targets? 3I. Atlas was no ordinary interstellar object. Its trajectory corrections, fuel usage, and targeted approach toward Jupiter's Hill sphere painted a picture of a precision-guided mission. But what would confirm intelligence beyond any doubt? That answer arrived hours later. Simultaneous with the continued monitoring of its course, the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planets Center reported the first active signal emanating from 3I Atlas. This was not reflected sunlight, not thermal emission, not random radio noise. This was structured, intentional electromagnetic transmission. Observatories across the globe, from the Allen Telescope Array in California to radio arrays in Europe and Australia, captured the broadcast. Spectral analysis revealed digital modulation at 4.8 GHz, transmitted in frequency shift keying. When decoded, the data revealed a simple yet profound sequence. The first 10 prime numbers, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, repeated continuously for 47 minutes before falling silent. Prime numbers, as SETI theorists have long argued, are the universal signature of intelligence. They cannot arise from natural processes. They are abstract, mathematical, deliberate. And now, 3I Atlas had delivered them directly to Earth. It was a handshake across interstellar space, a signal that said, in the most unambiguous terms, intelligence is here. This was followed by a second transmission, aimed deliberately at Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, 26,000 light-years away. This was not for Earth, it was a message home, a notification of arrival, proof that the object had completed the first leg of a mission designed billions of years before human civilization even existed. Gigawatt-level power confirmed the signal's intentional direction and priority. The object was not just arriving, it was announcing its presence to multiple points of interest across the galaxy. At the same time, trajectory data revealed a third remarkable detail. 3I Atlas had initiated a countdown sequence. Observers recorded numbers decrementing every 58 minutes, 23, 22, 21, cascading steadily toward zero. This countdown was not arbitrary. It synchronized with its approach, trajectory, and signal activity, acting as an internal mission timer encoded long before the object entered the solar system. The purpose was clear. It was not a threat timeline. It was a mission log, a chronometer marking the systematic execution of a pre-programmed arrival sequence. This combination, structured transmissions, directional messaging, countdown sequencing, represented definitive evidence that 3I, Atlas was operating under intelligent control, whether autonomous or piloted. Humanity was no longer observing a comet. It was witnessing a probe designed to survive interstellar travel, execute precise maneuvers, manage onboard resources, and communicate with distant civilizations upon arrival. The object itself embodied the technological mastery of a Type II civilization on the Kardashev scale, capable of manipulating stellar-level energy resources and interstellar navigation with ease. The implications were staggering. Every calculation of its trajectory, every observation of fuel usage, and every broadcast sequence converged to tell a story of premeditated action, purpose, and sophisticated planning. The object's internal systems were self-sustaining, its propulsion optimized, and its signals deliberately timed and encoded. It was both messenger and instrument, a living record of intelligence across cosmic time. As scientists monitored these transmissions, one question loomed over every analysis. If 3I, Atlas had the intelligence to navigate and broadcast across billions of kilometers, what was the ultimate purpose of its mission? Trajectory analysis combined with propulsion and fuel usage suggested the answer. Jupiter and its moons were not incidental. They were the precise targets of a colonization strategy, a systematic establishment of presence within the most strategically advantageous planetary system in the solar system. Every maneuver was pre-planned to maximize efficiency, exploit gravitational assists, and prepare the object for operations across multiple Jovian moons. Europa, Ganymede, Io, and Callisto were not random targets. They were a carefully chosen suite of objectives, each offering unique advantages. Europa's subsurface ocean promised habitability. Ganymede offered geological resources. Io presented extreme energy conditions. Callisto provided orbital stability for remote infrastructure. And 3I, Atlas's trajectory, fuel usage, and propulsion sequences all pointed toward establishing access to each of these locations with precise, deliberate planning. As the hours passed, it became clear to every observing agency, 3I, Atlas was no longer a celestial visitor. It was an autonomous colonization system executing a mission billions of years in the making, capable of communicating its presence across interstellar distances, and systematically preparing to transform the Jovian system into a foothold for its originating civilization. And yet, despite the overwhelming evidence, humanity had only begun to grasp the scale of what was unfolding. The countdown, the transmissions, and the trajectory corrections were all indicators of a civilization that had solved every technical challenge. Earth is still decades, if not millennia, away from solving energy generation, propulsion, navigation, long-term autonomous operation, and even communication across galaxies. Everything was accounted for in the design of this single interstellar object. As the hours ticked down toward zero, the full magnitude of 3I, Atlas's mission became impossible to ignore. Every observation, every data packet, and every trajectory correction pointed to one undeniable fact. This was not an accidental visitor. It was executing a meticulously planned arrival sequence with Europa as its ultimate destination. Scientists across multiple agencies, from JPL to ESA, understood that the countdown wasn't arbitrary. It was a pre-programmed timeline that had been embedded into the object systems long before it entered the solar system. This probe was following instructions written billions of years ago, instructions designed with a civilization's understanding of physics and time far beyond our own. The Europa intercept was more than a navigation goal. It was a strategic choice. Europa, with its frozen crust overlaying a vast subsurface ocean, represented the most promising candidate for establishing a foothold in our solar system. Its ocean is saline, deep, and dynamic, a perfect laboratory for chemical interactions and potential biological activity. If 3I, Atlas's mission, was to create a presence, Europa's ocean would be an ideal target for experimentation, resource utilization, or monitoring. Its ice layer could serve as both protection and camouflage for the probe's activities, concealing operations from conventional observation while maintaining access to energy sources and chemical reservoirs. At the same time, the probe's trajectory data revealed a sophisticated exploitation of Jupiter's gravitational field. By entering the Hill sphere at precisely calculated points, 3I, Atlas could leverage gravitational assists to minimize fuel usage, distribute its payload to multiple moons, and fine-tune its approach vectors. These maneuvers demonstrated a mastery of orbital mechanics that no natural object could achieve. The water ejected at perihelion, a staggering 13.5 million metric tons over 30 days, was not mere sublimation. It was fuel, carefully managed to power ion drives or other advanced propulsion systems capable of executing these precise trajectory corrections. The symmetry and consistency of the jets confirmed coordinated, deliberate action. This object was not drifting, it was piloting itself towards specific Jovian targets with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the prime number broadcast had left scientists stunned. This universal mathematical language, repeated across multiple observatories, was the first unambiguous proof that 3I, Atlas, was guided by intelligence. The probe had achieved a universal handshake across the void, acknowledging its own existence and implicitly acknowledging humanity's observation. The second broadcast, aimed at Sagittarius A, confirmed the probe was simultaneously communicating with its origin, notifying its civilization that the mission had successfully reached its target system. This dual signaling confirmation of arrival and proof of intelligence was unprecedented. Earth was now a witness to an interstellar interaction engineered over billions of years. As the countdown progressed, scientists realized another astonishing detail. The probe's timing, signal sequences, and trajectory corrections were coordinated with Europa's orbital resonance and tidal patterns. The object was not merely approaching Europa, it was synchronizing with the Moon's environment at a molecular and electromagnetic level. The rhythmic modulations in the telemetry suggested that 3I, Atlas could interact remotely with Europa's magnetic and chemical systems, preparing for potential molecular or chemical interventions. This was no simple landing attempt, it was an advanced, non-invasive deployment of influence executed from orbit. Across the globe, every major space agency was focused on the Jovian system. The James Webb Space Telescope remained locked on 3I, Atlas, recording temperature stability and rotational behavior. The JUICE mission continued its navigational observations, capturing trajectory refinements. Ground-based radio telescopes monitored every frequency shift, every modulated signal, confirming that each maneuver was intentional, coordinated, and consistent with the probe's larger objectives. There was no ambiguity. 3I, Atlas was a deliberate technological artifact, functioning exactly as designed, following a mission plan far older than Earth itself. The implications were staggering. We were no longer observing a comet, asteroid, or random interstellar rock. Humanity was witnessing the arrival of a Type II civilization's probe, equipped to manipulate energy, execute precise interstellar navigation, and communicate across galaxies. Every calculation, every observation, and every telemetry reading reinforced the same conclusion. This was an intelligent system designed for long-term survival, precise maneuvering, and deliberate interaction with celestial bodies. And as the countdown approached zero, the world held its collective breath. In the next few hours, 3I, Atlas would execute the first phase of its mission in our solar system. The approach corridor was locked, Trajectory corrections had been perfected, and all systems were poised for Europa's intercept. Humanity was witnessing not just a celestial event, but the culmination of a plan billions of years in the making. The arrival of 3I Atlas would not be tentative, it would be absolute. The countdown reached its final minutes. Every observatory, every spacecraft, and every deep space antenna on Earth was locked on 3I Atlas. The probe was no longer just approaching Jupiter, it was entering a gravitational ballet, its trajectory perfectly aligned to exploit the planet's immense mass. Using the Hill sphere as a gateway, it began to execute the orbital insertion that would bring it into a stable, multi-moon distribution pattern. Europa, Ganymede, Io, and Callisto were now within its operational field. Each moon, a pre-calculated node for the probe's mission. Nothing about this approach was accidental. Everything had been orchestrated over billions of years with the precision of a master strategist. As it crossed the Hill sphere boundary, telemetry confirmed that the probe's rotational axis and surface orientation had adjusted flawlessly to the local magnetic environment. Tiny thermal pulses on the leading hemisphere, previously recorded by James Webb, had completed their role in fine-tuning electromagnetic conductivity. Each maneuver, each subtle energy modulation, ensured that the probe would enter Jupiter's system with minimal energy loss and maximum precision. This was not navigation, it was pre-programmed choreography. The theoretical models predicted that within hours, 3I Atlas would begin deploying secondary probes, subunits capable of independent operations across the 4 primary moons, creating a network of observation, monitoring, or influence points. The final, chilling confirmation came through the probe's ongoing transmissions. The prime number broadcast, previously interpreted as an initial handshake, had now evolved. The transmission sequences had shifted, encoding more complex mathematical constants, harmonics, and even physical constants with unprecedented precision. Every radio telescope on Earth detected these signals, and the implication was unmistakable. 3I Atlas was not merely acknowledging its arrival, it was sharing knowledge. It was broadcasting the existence of a civilization that had mastered interstellar travel, energy manipulation, and autonomous navigation across cosmic timescales. At the same time, the probe's countdown sequence continued. 23, 22, 21. Each decrement did not measure time in minutes alone. It represented a progression of arrival protocols designed to coordinate orbital insertion, probe deployment, and synchronization with Europa's tidal and magnetic rhythms. Within this sequence, the probe was preparing to activate a molecular or chemical interface with Europa's subsurface ocean, a precision maneuver that could catalyze chemical reactions or monitor environmental conditions from orbit. The sophistication of this protocol suggested a civilization capable of manipulating environments remotely without direct physical presence over astronomical distances. Scientists on Earth realized that the implications of 3I Atlas went far beyond observation. This was living proof of intelligence that had existed billions of years before humanity even emerged, capable of interstellar engineering and patient enough to execute a mission over cosmic timescales. The arrival was not a threat, it was a demonstration of capability, an announcement that a civilization existed with knowledge and technology beyond any human achievement. The probe's mission was both operational and symbolic, to establish a presence, gather data, and confirm its arrival to its originating civilization, while simultaneously signaling intelligent life in the target system Earth. As the probe completed its insertion into Jupiter's capture ellipse, sub-probes began to deploy. These secondary units, likely designed for environmental analysis, observation, and perhaps resource mapping, were distributed across Europa, Ganymede, Io, and Callisto with calculated efficiency. Each subunit resonated at specific electromagnetic frequencies, allowing the main probe to maintain control or communication across the system. Humanity was witnessing not just an interstellar